Welcome to R&R Showtime with Robert.
And Ryan.
Ryan, what are we talking about today?
Once again, we're back to talk about the Oscars, specifically the our rankings of the 10 nominees for Best Picture. Do the Oscars matter? Probably not. But it's a fun opportunity to look at 10 movies that have been, selected as being, important, as being exceptional in some way. And every year, sort of doing this like ritual to watch all these 10 movies, it gives us an opportunity to watch things we maybe wouldn't have otherwise. And I really appreciate the experience of that. What say you?
Likewise, I likewise feel the same. However, this year, I think I've got some hot takes and some just interesting opinions to share. Um, so I really just want to get right into it because I
I'm fine
actually
to get right into it.
yeah I can't wait to actually talk about. I would like to start with my number 10
You
because
can
I've
start
got
with your number 10.
I've got some things to say, and I hope maybe it's your number 10 actually. So we're gonna start with my number 10, which is Sentimental Values.
It is not my number 10.
Is not your number 10. Okay, and that's fine. I'm not gonna sit here and talk, say a bunch of bad things about this movie. But what I am gonna say about this movie is I DNF'd it. I I rented this movie. I spent money to watch it at home and watched the first hour of it straight. And at that point in the movie, looked at the time. It was already getting kind of late, and Lily thought to myself, I was like, I'm so unengaged in this movie. I was not hooked. I was just not getting it. The any emotional impact. I was not reading into it very much, and I'm not here to claim I'm like some refined, super critic, and I should know better, but I just have to go by how I was feeling. And I watched it with Angela, and she felt basically the same. I said, hey, it's already getting kind of late, and I'd actually rather not like push through and watch this late and like get to bed late. So let's just save it for tomorrow. And so stopped at the midway point, like at a good stopping point, and the next day didn't even prioritize watching it, so I almost went a whole nother day. And when I finally sat down to try and watch it again, I just continued to be so disinterested that I got about another 20 minutes in and could not be bothered to keep watching it. And Angela kind of felt the same. It just was so boring to me that I could not finish it. Now, again, referencing for anybody that doesn't know, Sentimental Values is a foreign language film. And it's in a Scandinavian or like a Danish dialect. And so again,
Yeah.
yeah, there could be something to that maybe, but I've been just as engaged in multiple foreign language films that have been in Korean and Spanish. And so I don't really feel that it's a language barrier. If anything, it forces me to be more attentive, right? Because I have to read the what's being said. And yeah, I again there are some nice things about this movie, right? Some of the cinematography is good, the acting is good, but there's just something about this story that did not capture my attention nor hold it. And me and her both agreed that we just did not even want to finish it. We were like, honestly, I'm fine with this. We had the limit for the rental was going to run out, and I just said I'm fine with that. I kind of feel how I'm going to feel already. So I don't know if there was some kind of like fantastic finish to it that makes up for all of it, but how I felt, just up to that point was I could not argue against. And that is like the first time I've ever not finished any of these Oscar films. And typically I don't really DNF movies in general. I usually, even when they're not particularly good, but I was just honest with myself in the sense I didn't want to finish it. So that is my number 10. Maybe you'll give me better insights. Maybe you have a higher opinion. So
I
I'm
I obviously do since it's not my 10.
mhm.
Um Sentimental Value also nominated for Best Original Screenplay, Best Director, Best International Film, and is likely to win Best International Feature Film. When we get done with this Best Picture ranking, I want to talk about the 5 international features,
Hmm.
which include 2 Best Picture noms
Hmm.
and excludes a movie that is better than all 5 nominees. But yeah, I can't. I want to save my talking about sentimental value for a little bit later.
Hmm.
But I get I can totally get not if you're not too engaged in that movie. Because and you not finishing it, I think you there's like a scene that caps off at the end that pays off something, and there's like more good acting scenes and stuff as you go along. But yeah, I don't entirely blame you. I do think it's worth finishing anything, even if you don't like it. I actually have a interesting example of a case of that when we go to talk about the other international feature films, or at least when I talk about them.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll save my talking about sentimental value when I have it up on the list. But you know what? It's definitely not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
Then in that case, we'll move to your number 10, which you, prior to starting the recording, mentioned that the last two movies that I saw were going to be very lowly rated. And for everybody that knows, the Sentimental Values and The Secret Agent were the very last two movies I saw. I watched
The
Secret
two
Agent.
international feature films.
Yeah, and I watched that
Um,
yesterday, this week. So, what is your number 10, Ryan?
the movie you watched yesterday, this week,
Okay,
The
great, because
Secret Agent.
that is my number 9. So
Okay.
we can talk about it pretty openly right here.
So
Um,
obviously you're racist, you're xenophobic, you have the 2 foreign language movies in last place. How dare you?
how dare
No,
I?
honestly, I don't think these to spoil my international feature ranking. These are my least favorite of the movies nominated for international
Hmm.
feature, the
Hmm.
Secret Agent and Sentimental Value.
Hmm.
Which is definitely a hot take because Sentimental Value is like people really like that movie. Um, and I do like it. I like it more than you. But Secret Agent, I do not get why this was nominated for Best Picture. I don't get
I
it.
so what I was going to say about Secret Agent is that at least what I got from it, the positive things that made me say, hey, this is more than sentimental value, is that one, there was this sense of a little bit of like mystery of like, okay, kind of what's going on. Like the story really had to evolve to find out like what, what exactly was the significance, what were the events that happened. And so that did engage me more. It made me want to watch it. There's being able to experience the culture at that time that was
Yeah.
really nice. Like it was like, oh wow, it really felt like we were representing like a 70s era Brazil, and just the wide swath of people there. And there was a lot in it that I was able to enjoy a little more. But what ultimately seemed to end up happening is there was like no real payoff to all that. And then you know what it really reminded me of? A far worse, less emotionally impactful I'm Still Here.
So there are obvious comparisons because the Brazilian movie about the corrupt regime in Brazil from decades past getting nominated for Best Picture and International Feature 1 year after the next. The parallels exist.
With
And both
a future aspect where we go from the past to the future.
yes, and
Hmm.
with the main actor getting nominated for lead acting role. And this one, it is Wagner Mora,
Hmm.
who he does have a good performance in the movie.
Hmm.
Um, I just feel like this movie, I it's just doing a lot of things like something that I forgot about until I watched like the honest trailer of the movie of all the Oscar movies is there's this sequence about like a leg that's like
Yeah.
a
Oh,
fancified thing that has like
no. Yeah. It's totally random out of nowhere. It doesn't really make any sense. Like it doesn't pay off in any way. It's
and in
just,
another movie I would probably dig that, but in this movie I didn't think it made sense.
yeah, it's a tonal
Um
shift that doesn't make any sense, really. And that I really was like, what even is this? There's nothing in this movie that predisposed that that would be an appropriate like format or something to show. And it tries to do a whole bunch of things, and ultimately like none of them pay off very well. Like there's a couple
There's
like
one
threads. Oh, go ahead.
there's one like sort of action-ish like chase kind of scene late into the movie that in my mind was like, this is the best part of this movie. But I'm like when I remember that part of the movie, I'm like, but that's just such a small part in this like over 2 hour movie that I'm like, I remember it so well because at that point I was like kind waiting for something to happen, waiting.
Yeah, again, and it's like, and even that scene is also portraying like two characters that only like are barely relevant. Like it's not even like the
Yeah,
main character being chased by somebody. It's like it's like
a side
a
character and
side
a
character.
tertiary
Yeah,
character.
exactly. Like a barely anybody character is the main pivot point, and then it just ends with a, kind of an unsatisfying who cares. Like you could have just that could have all been off screen for all it mattered. So yeah, there this
And what was actually off screen was something that should be very important to the movie, something that
mhm,
just occurs and you
yep.
only know about through the framing device of the movie, which
Yeah.
is also like a kind of weirdly contrived framing device,
Yep.
in my
It is.
opinion.
Yeah. And so like all everything you're saying is totally correct. The things that again save it for me is that at least for a duration, I was very intrigued by what was happening.
Yeah,
It just they try to put a few different things together and it all really did not come together by the end. It did the payoffs were not there for things that were set up. This again shoehorn in like future portion where they kind of like cut to the future in some places, but like also never give
for
real
like
context to
yeah,
that. Um, but again, like honestly, like being immersed in the culture was actually really significant to me. There are scenes that are significant that speak a lot to the corruption, the familial importance and ties, like people trying to come together, despite like these unfortunate things. It's like there are scenes in this that work and communicate a lot and do something, and those are like the saving graces. Those are the things that had enough impact where I wanted to keep watching. But yeah, it's really in that, especially that this movie is almost 3 hours long. You have that much time to tell a story, and you still cannot really bring it all together by the end. There's just really no significant payoff. But those pieces are what save it and make it a little more meaningful to me. I feel like, and
yeah,
I'm just going to compare it like, why is this above sentimental value? Is that the story of sentimental value didn't engage me, and I'm also not didn't like feel like I was like experiencing some kind of for it being foreign language. I wasn't like experiencing some sort of separate culture per se, so there wasn't like more for me to learn or appreciate. It was just like, I mean, it's just people that speak another language, basically, just in modernish day, making like kind of centered around making a film and familial ties. So, like, there wasn't just more like other than what the story was, and that's why
yeah.
it ekes out. And you can be okay, let me throw. I'd say something like recency bias because it was more recent than sentimental value, but I mean, like, they're
Yeah.
both at the bottom of my list, so I don't really think they got many points for recency.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Secret Agent. The thing I credit this movie is the acting and the casting of it, which it was nominated for best casting.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I
I will say that, yeah,
I
that is another good point when you say the best casting is I really felt like very part of like me feeling more immersed is because everybody felt genuine. Like every person
they felt
looked,
like real lived-in characters that would have
yeah,
been there at that time.
it
Especially
absolutely.
I've heard other people commend this specific character, but I also concur. The lady that sort of runs the home where the
Hmm.
like these people are staying,
Yeah, Donna
she
Sebastiana.
is yeah, she's very genuine and it feels
Hmm.
very real.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right. So,
Well,
but that was your number 9 and my number 10. So I have to
so
move on to my number 9.
yes.
I oh, this is something that to a certain extent I've kind of not been super excited about. But time for me to finally kind of give a more full-fledged opinion on my brother's number one movie of last year. At number nine,
Ah,
I have F1,
very well.
which is a fun popcorn movie experience. You know, it's got that sort of classic sports story. You know, it's the story of Top Gun Maverick. It's the story of Cars 3. That older um in this case a race car driver coming in to kind of help the young gun kind of direct him in a way to have this sort of underdog win thing. The story is very classic. It's been done before for a reason because it's good, but it is very what it is. Um, the experience of being in the car of like what you are in there with Brad Pitt, it is exciting, it is cool, like it feels different than any other driving movie I've seen, but at the same time I've also seen so many driving movies. I've seen like I've seen Gran Turismo, I watched Ford v Ferrari, I watched like these other movies about racing, I've seen these other movies about F1 racing in the past couple years that like I think contain more interesting stories around them than this one. And if this one pulls off stuff at a better technical level, yeah, but I feel like as a narrative it's just kind of it's like I digest it, it tastes good, but then it just sort of leaves me. I'm like Brad Pitt was in that. I remember the driving, but like it just doesn't, stick with me. And that's
Fair
I
enough.
don't think it's bad though. I do not think it is a bad movie. I think it is good. I think it is enjoyable. I think it warrants being watched on a big screen. And one of the categories it's nominated in is best sound, which I think it has a very strong shot at winning because it
Hmm.
does it does deliver in the sound department.
Hmm.
There's another movie that I think maybe deserves to win it over it, but I think F1 is more likely to win. But yeah, that's my number nine.
Hey, again, everything you said, totally fair. I will speak more on it when it comes to it later on my list. But
Who could know
I
when you have
I
it?
I don't even really have any objections to what you said. But I will expand upon them a little bit from my perspective. So
Okay, yeah.
in that case,
So I should move on to my number seven, I think.
number eight.
Eight. I did my counting wrong.
Yeah. So I think actually I'm in
Number
my
eight.
number eight.
But I haven't done my number eight. I just did my number nine.
Okay. Very well. Send it
So
to my brother.
we're kind of mixed up because of the secret agent thing.
Hmm.
But I think I will start the number eight. And at number eight, I have a movie I describe as visual poetry, and it is Train Dreams on Netflix.
Train Dreams.
Um,
Love that.
I I think that this is again, these are all good movies.
Hmm.
Um, and if I had to give it like specific kudos, I would probably give like it. I strongly believe this probably deserves to win cinematography. Like I call it visual poetry because like one, you have this narrative and narration that kind of like carries you through the movie, and it's like there is like a story being told, but I feel like it speaks more on a emotional level than it is speaking on like a specific narrative level. And you just need to be tuned in to that the sort of rhythm of it and the sort of what it is to really fully appreciate what is going on in Train Dreams. Um And I think that is maybe why I'm a little low on it is that I've never been a poetry person. So I
Hmm.
can see that art is happening. I see this is art. this is moving. I understand if someone is moved by this greatly. I
Mhm.
see the craft going on. I appreciate what this is doing. I'm just not. I just have didn't latch on at any time.
Mhm.
So I never was like I was always just kind of watching it happen and I was never like in it, if that makes sense. And
Mhm.
so whereas like with F1 and Secret Agent, like F1, I think it does a really good job at like being entertaining, but that's all it sets out to do. And
Mhm.
Secret Agent, I think it kind of fails at what it does, or at least for me, I don't even. It's hard for me to even latch on to like what it was trying to do. I get what Train Dreams is trying to do. It just
Mhm.
didn't work for me, and
Mhm.
that's why I have it at number 8.
I'll expand a little bit here, but did you come up with that phrase, the visual poetry? Did you think of that?
I may have heard someone say it and I forgot it, but that's like I've had that kind of in my mind about this movie for a
Hmm.
while.
I have to say I really love that description. I truly do. What I was saying when I watched it with Angela is that it really it's this is a movie about vibes, if I could say it like that.
Yeah.
That and visual poetry is a wonderful way to say it. I think that the actual story narrative of the man's life that we watch portrayed it's really a vehicle for the themes and the cinematography. And I that is why I respect that it's lower on your list, but because ultimately like it it uses that like there's a little bit of sacrifice in the man's story and his narrative, but because it's serving all these other purposes. And that's if you kind of acknowledge and realize that that is the purpose, right? Kind of just what you said, that ultimately like those things are what are more important there. That I connected with it really well and appreciated it a lot for that. But you do kind of again get onto the if you don't actually connect with those pieces of it, then obviously it just has less impact.
Yeah.
So I definitely really love how you describe it with the visual poetry, because I think that is a great way to capture it. I'll expand on it a little later when I get to it in my list.
Yeah, and I'm gonna let you move on to your 8. I
Hmm.
just want to give a quick moment of silence. Let us really feel some. There is something lost in that this Train Dreams and Frankenstein for most people pretty much had to watch it on Netflix. Did not get to watch these movies on a big
Hmm.
screen, and Frankenstein probably deserves it, but I think Train Dreams even more would have been rewarded on a big screen with the
Hmm.
music, with the
Yes.
sound there.
Yes. Something. All. Yeah. Being. I think an important part that would make Train Dreams better is being in a dark, silent room, just being there to experience it.
Yeah.
That
And
is
so I
something.
also am willing to give that the Frankenstein and Train Dreams. I actually could have gone and seen Frankenstein in a theater. It just wasn't convenient. And I knew it was going to be on Netflix. I don't know if Train Dreams was ever accessible, but every other movie I watched in a theater, and I think they were helped by that.
Yeah. I. Yep. I agree. Again, I'm not gonna like say it was a major impact, but like probably one or two times during Train Dreams, I had my roommate like come down and was like, "Oh, what you watching there?" kind of thing. And again, it's not like it like was some major disruption, but if I could have been more subsumed in it with no distractions of any kind, I do think it would have had just a little extra impact. But again, I'll save just a little more on it for later. I will move into my number 8. My number 8 is Begonia. Um,
Begonia.
yes, Begonia. So what I will say about Begonia, and I will not get into any like too much of the plot. If you want to go over a little more of the plot when you get to it, but what I'll just say is that this movie is very intriguing and it's got a lot of interesting parts, and it is engaging, but the ending of it, the very ending. truly, truly dropped the ball for me. I think it totally spoils so much of how much the parts of it that I enjoyed, and it like fully dropped it down a few legs for me. In that, I wish it was the movie literally could have just cut it at a certain point and not done any more, and it would have been more meaningful to have left the ending open for interpretation. But instead, it just went the way it went, and that is what it is. Like that's just the direction for that art. But it, I was way more intrigued with it until that, and like reflecting on it afterwards, I'm just like, this movie goes from like being unique, interesting, artistic, making statements to kind of just like odd almost by the end. And that's, like maybe that's a harsh opinion. Maybe people don't agree with me or that's a hot take, but yeah, that's just where, that's where I land. So,
I, I don't think that. I think there's definitely going to be people that are on the same page as you, quite frankly. But two kind of thoughts I have. One is an adaptation of another movie, so the ending I believe was like that in the original movie. So I think on a certain level could it have been changed? Yes. The other thing is that I really wish we could delve into spoilers on this. I don't want to though, just in case people haven't seen things, but it, this movie is very much once you know the answer, it changes your viewing. And I actually Begonia ended up being the only movie that I watched a second time. And it just happened that because I went to a movie night thing and Begonia ended up being the choice. And so I got to rewatch it knowing the answer, and it changes the dynamics of what's going on in a very interesting way. And you already know that I liked Begonia because it was in my top 10 last year. But where will it place here? I don't know. We'll have to find out. Ooh.
ooh. Um,
Ooh.
well, in that case, I think we can go from my 8 to my 7.
Yes.
And what I'm going to do right here is I'm actually going to talk about Angela gave me her top 8. So she didn't watch 2 of these films.
Interesting.
So I'm going to hit her 8 and her 7 because, I've actually already touched on these 2. Her 8 is Sentimental Value. When I watch it, we were
Oh
watching
yeah,
it
you
together.
neither
Oh,
finished it. Yeah.
yeah, we both agreed. We were like, we don't really want to watch the rest of this. Her 7 is Begonia. Pretty much, we both had kind of the same feelings on that. Um, Now, my number 7, this
What
might
is
be the
her
hot.
two missing What are her two missing movies?
She is missing Hamnet and Secret Agent. She was not here while
Okay.
I was watching Secret Agent yesterday. And Hamnet, I went to see it in the theaters. Wish she could have gone. She just had to work that day. And I know she would love
Yeah.
that movie. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, those are 2 that are missing. My number 7, probably almost certainly hot take, but is One Battle After Another.
I had a feeling that's what it was about to be.
Yeah. So
Soon to be potential Best Picture winner, and a very likely winner for Best Director. Possible acting wins in lead actor, supporting actress. Literally, it is between this movie and another movie are like one of them has a chance to just kind of steamroll this Oscars with a bunch of award wins. One Battle After Another is one of the two movies that has that opportunity.
yeah. So the now of course hot take. I know you even told me before this. I was already saying like when I'd watched like I think 6 out of 10. I was like One Battle After Another is like my worst movie. This is definitely on the bottom. Like I was like I don't even like this. I don't care about this. Now having watched the rest of these movies, the ones that are below it here, again One Battle After Another is actually just a well put together story that makes sense, right? Follows a good structure, has good acting. Like this is where like even if I was like compared to other films that I enjoyed way more and I think are more well done in my opinion, that it's still actually like a pretty decently good movie. I like the Begonia, Secret Agent, and Sentimental Value. I have like clear like actual gripes with, and One Battle After Another, I just was not nearly that impressed by it. I thought it was fine, but it's almost like a little bit of like had some expectations, and those were not where I landed at with the movie, and so maybe that has a factor. Like my expectations were just higher, and they didn't really land. But there is good and redeeming qualities about this movie. I wouldn't even say there's anything per se bad. Again, just not as great as I would have thought. And like again, the fact that it's like being like, oh my god, this is like literally the best movie of the year. So I'm like, that feels, in my opinion, just overrated. But that's that. But I will say, One Battle After Another is a fine movie. It's a good movie. Like it's I'm gonna be honest, and this is kind of one of my hot take, interesting opinions, is that for all the years we've gone out of the way and watched these Oscars, I have never before felt bad about like going out of my way to watch these movies. I always felt like, wow, I'm glad I spent money on that to go out of my way and watch this that I wouldn't have watched before. Sentimental Value and Secret Agent were both the case of, and I rented them at home to make sure I watched them, where I was like, I would rather have reclaimed that time. I would have been fine not having watched these. I don't want to go quite so far as to say it was a waste of my time, but I've always previously held that it was a good commitment of getting to watch these movies, and these were not. I'd rather have not watched them. And
I don't disagree entirely, to be honest.
yeah, and again, I respect, like that. Hey, I should have watched maybe to the end, but this, I do try to be picky and choosy about what movies I see. Right, my time is valuable. I try to pick movies that I think I'm going to enjoy, and I've always enjoyed Oscar movies to some degree. Even if I didn't love them, it was like, oh, this was a cool experience to get outside of my comfort zone and watch something different. But yeah, those two movies were literally, I was like, no, I would have preferred I didn't spend money on it and watch it. But One Battle After Another, I didn't feel that way. Right, one, I didn't have to spend money on it. I watched it at home for free. But two, it was a good and fine movie. If I had paid money to see it in theaters, I would have been fine and happy with it. But that is my number 7, and I did touch on Angela's number 7 already. That was Begonia. So now
Now
we'll
it's
be
my
moving
turn
to
for number 7.
yours.
And we will be talking about sentimental value. All right, so clearly I have this a little higher than you. I did finish this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the way that it sort of wraps up, stuff that happens, that it's hard to know what you didn't see, because I do feel like there are things that happen late into the movie that made me like it more.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I was kind of in like a not fully engaged thing, and then there was just, I think it's like you get some of like the best acting performances, particularly from supporting actress nominee. There's actually 2 supporting actress nominees in this movie. One of them is Elle Fanning, and the other is Inga. I can't remember her last name, but she is the one of the 2 daughters, but she's the daughter who isn't an actress.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a scene later in the movie that she sort of is like carrying and is like the main focus of, that like I found to be very moving. And in general, this is a movie driven by characters, by acting performances, which is something that I am generally gonna be a little more eh, 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 I find more access to, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
is when it's like a human acting performance thing. And this movie has strong acting performances. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
the 4 characters you see the most, they all got nominated for awards,
Mm-hmm.
and deservedly so.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I was gonna say, I think we've mentioned maybe even on one of the last podcasts that for you, characters, like the exploration of characters is more important, and I think for me, a lot of times the narrative and the story is more important. And so that obviously that sort of aligns like more of our opinions and how sometimes we can feel this way or that. We obviously can appreciate both, but
it's kind of
our
interesting. You could, in a way, you can actually apply that back to um uh, my number 9 ranking of F1, because it is like there are characters, but they're not really characters. They're more like archetypes. They
yeah,
these don't feel like people. They feel like, oh, it's that, I've seen that before.
yeah,
Brad Pitt is Cars 3 Lightning McQueen. He
yeah,
is a Maverick.
yeah.
Um but in another way, number 10 was a character piece that wasn't relying on narrative. Secret Agent, like
Mm-hmm.
that should be maybe more, I should be more receptive to it, but like in that case it didn't work. So it's not a 100% of the time thing. But yeah, sentimental value for me. And there's the aspect of this movie being a movie about making movies that I
Hmm.
I also do find like a niceness to. And I think the final scene of this movie is very good. It is unfortunate that you did not see that. I don't know if it would have lifted it past 10. Maybe it could have gotten it to 9, but I feel like you still would have had a general disengagement from the movie. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a strong performance movie, and
Hmm.
that is why I liked it. That's why it's got so many nominations. It is probably the front runner for winning international feature, and I don't begrudge it that, but it's not even in my top 5 on the best pictures.
Yeah. Fair
Is
enough.
sentimental value.
Fair enough. I respect that. That would lead us into your number 6, correct?
Yes, number 6. So this is the last movie of the bottom half.
Hmm.
And it seems a little unfair because I'd say the rest of these movies I think are great, are moving movies. 100% deserve Best Picture nominations. These last 4, I'm okay with getting Best Picture nominations, but I also think there could have been other movies gotten nominated, quite frankly. But this one fully deserves the nomination. Um, and very likely we will see uh the lead actress of this movie win Best Actress. At number 6, I have Hamnet. And
Hmm.
Hamnet is a emotional movie.
Hmm.
It's one that you go into maybe not knowing what it's about, and then you find out what it's about, what it's really about, and um wow.
Yep. You're describing it very much in the way I would feel. I had zero idea what it was about.
I
I
knew
did not
I
know.
I knew that Paul Mescal was William Shakespeare,
I didn't even know
which
that.
the movie does not tell you.
Nope. Yeah, I did not even realize that. I sort of like keyed into it a little bit, and so okay, actually, let me say I had zero idea, but I read the briefest summary, like one sentence about it, and it said the love story inspiration for the play Hamlet,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, interesting. Like, I did not precisely know what that meant,
I
and
think I think we talked about this too. You haven't read or seen Hamlet, right?
I have not. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
further. Don't even know what I like. Call me uncultured swine, but I've never read or I didn't. It wasn't a requirement in my high school or any time
I
I've.
I did have my English class, we did read Hamlet. And for those unaware, it is also very lines up. It's the plot of The Lion King is very Hamlet. It's not
Mhm.
one to one, but it is very similar movie.
Yes, and I had zero idea of what Hamlet's about, and I had just the smallest indication of what this was about. I did not realize this is about, and again, like spoiler, but it's not really. I don't think this is supposed to be a secret. I just didn't recognize it. Is that yeah? Like this is about essentially the making of Hamlet, and William Shakespeare is portrayed in it, but his name is not said until way later in the movie.
Way
Like it's
later,
not.
yeah.
Yeah, like you never hear Shakespeare until it's like the movie's close to over. Um,
Yeah.
which again, because it's not really about that. It's not like a movie about William Shakespeare. And I actually really enjoyed this movie. It was emotionally impactful, which is for me with film is a big thing. The narrative of this one, there's some really creative cinematography. I'll save expanding more
Yeah.
for when I get to it on my list, but what you're saying right now, I agree with.
And let me be clear. Again, I wanted to preface this because it's in the bottom half of my list, so I feel bad about that. This movie did make me cry. Um, this movie is like it does what it set out to do successfully, and really, I the it feels like such a lame reason to dock this movie, but there's a higher thing about the kind of vibes of this movie being so intent on being emotional that maybe kind of puts me off to liking it more than I do. But there's a specific scene in it that I find very on the nose. And it involves one of the characters reciting a line from Hamlet, like in a context of a scene where it feels like I don't think that this actually happened, and this feels so written to be like meaningful. And like that scene, I'm like, this is supposed to be a powerful scene, but I think it's uh like not quite cringy, but like I'm like, I this is not working for me. And it took me out in that moment. And I think that's enough for me to put it up below other movies that never took me out.
I can respect that. I'll say I know what scene you're talking about. We did actually talk about that offline, and
Yeah.
it didn't. It maybe stood out in a sense. It's actually one of the scenes that made me be like, huh, oh, this like that where I was starting to be like, this is about like Shakespeare. Like like I'm getting it now. I'm getting it. Like, is this guy Shakespeare? Like this is before they say his name still, and I'm like, so what it I get it maybe on the nose, but almost like in a sense maybe at that point they were like, hey, if you weren't getting it yet, like,
When he was
so
talking about writing about Romeo and Juliet.
yeah, I that was obviously that was a key part too. Yes, in the movie
Yeah.
at one point he's like reciting lines from Romeo and Juliet, but like even then I still was like I was like okay, I get what could that mean again, not knowing precisely what exactly it was supposed to mean. So
Yeah.
it all makes sense afterwards, but. I respect that, and I'm glad at least you got some of the impact of it. Again, I think that impact really sat with me, and something about going into it like totally blank maybe allowed it to impact me more.
Yeah. Maybe.
I didn't read into it as much. So, but I will save a little more of my expansion on it for um, for later when we get to it on my list. But now, if we're at my number 6, I'm going to expand on a movie we already talked about, which is Train Dreams. So,
I had a feeling that was going to be your next one.
Train Dreams, what I want to say is again, you kind of capture it really well. Again, visual poetry, but this I already said it. The story of this man's life serves as a vehicle for the themes and the cinematography. And I mean, this touches on so many like amazing and sort of niche themes that I've never experienced in film before, and it does it in such an indirect but also like prevalent way. I mean, industrialization, conservation, cultural shifts, the like again, like even the impact of like wildfires. How like okay,
Yes.
relevant to California, like wildfires are a huge like real thing, but like the idea that wildfires have existed for for all of history practically, not just some
Yeah.
occurrence of the modern day, and how today we have so much more capacity to do something about it, to anticipate them, to respond, and how what they can do to imagine a frontier almost frontier life person. And I don't know why that was like a huge thing to me. The logging industry, the beauty of so many of these scenes, and even like not just like the greenery, but like even some of the desolate scenes, which again in this movie wildfire occurs. It's a big plot point, and so this desolation and the impact of that, the redemption, the cultural connection between people, the concept of like fading industry, right? Again, industrialization, the idea of like this art to a way of working it. There's so much that is in this, and it all really works. Like all of that works so well. I feel like I had this beautiful and tragic sort of insight into all these different pieces of a real part of Americana, like folk Americana of the early 1900s. Because the interesting thing here is that this is in the early 1900s. It almost seems like it's even maybe older, but it's the fact that you see it, it's like a bit of a provincial life. It's like people building log cabins and stuff. But like no, like this is in I can't remember the precise
It's like
time,
the
but
Pacific Northwest, and
yes,
it's the early, yeah, because it's his entire life, so it's like running like the through the 20s and 30s, I want to say.
yeah, exactly. And that which is yeah, because no, it talks about the Great War. So we know that, yeah,
Hmm.
this takes place during the 20s and
The
30s.
tens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
10s,
sorry,
20s.
the
Yeah.
10s, 20s, 30s. But the point being is, it was fascinating that this takes place during that time, but it's so under industrialized, right? Like we almost think of the early 1900s because we think of like the Gilded Age. We think of like cities. We think of industrial, like already industrialized culture,
Yeah,
banking, like
we're thinking New York, kind
yeah,
of.
exactly. But
Like New
we
York exists and it's doing that thing. Like other big hubs, especially on the East Coast, are already developed. But like this is all Pacific Northwest, which is just kind of finally they're laying the railroad tracks to get up there.
Yep, exactly. We see that then there's like there's also these interesting plays between like remorse, regret, depression, how a person, perseveres through extreme loss. There it just beautifully really touches on so many of these things, and it's so beautiful to watch. It's a really tragic movie, but by the end, like there's a lightness and a hope almost to just the perseverance of the human spirit. But the thing, why is it a little lower? Like it goes, I think for what its purpose isn't to tell some sort of like grand story where where he transforms by the end. It's just looking at this simple man's life and everything that we can get from that. And for that, I really connected with it, right? Again, I love forests, and I like conservation. I like, which is funny because you're watching a logger, like basically the the stint of them destroying um the forests, like the acknowledged like logging and just cutting down of these great old woods that we now see the impact of today, right? Us just not really recognizing or understanding better, only in retrospect. But even seeing like there's a piece here, him as a logger, as he comes towards his sort of conclusion of that time in his life, like where he and others in his regard sort of like acknowledge that, like they acknowledge what they're doing. They recognize it, they see the necessity in it, and there's almost like a nobility in how they're doing it. But like as it becomes industrialized, it becomes like get chainsaws, rip these things down, who cares anymore? That like at least like maybe there was some manner of respect that they had even while they were doing this, and that how it progresses forward and all that respect is lost. Like
It
there's
becomes less human, it becomes less, one with nature.
yeah, and so there's just a lot that I appreciated about this movie. It was very unique in a way, very soulful, but ultimately, like even to the point of like again the actual story, the narrative, the way that it ends is kind of just like there you go, like that's it. There isn't like necessarily some kind of like great conclusion to it. Um, there's maybe a piece in the finality of him and his life, but it's like it serves as like almost an artistic piece. Again, I just come back to that phrase you said. This is visual poetry. If you can, it's visual poetry. You get to experience like a piece of this part of our culture that's not often highlighted. It's not something that like most people necessarily like care to learn about that often. Um, I think maybe in California we actually learned a little more about it, like because it's more prevalently close to like Californian history. But yeah, the vibes were immaculate, and they really got
Yeah.
me, and I appreciated it a lot. It had way more impact than again every movie below it per se, but the pieces of it that make it like good as an artistic film ultimately still not like this is why it's in my lower half and not above some of the other ones because the other ones were ultimately better better film for like their story and some of what they did. This one again just great art, and as a medium to art and history, I appreciated that. Um,
So, what is Angela 6?
Angela Six is One Battle After Another. So
Okay.
her bottoms kind of align a little bit with me. Like taking out literally just the ones she didn't see. The next one is where she'll depart from aligning with mine more so. So that
Gotcha.
is my number six.
Are you ready to move into your number 5, the top half?
Top five. Okay, maybe gonna protect. Perhaps this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think with we're in the top five now, and the top five are all inarguably like all good movies to me. And my five, I have a very clear reason, and I said this before when we talked about it in the past. My number five is Sinners. And it is because while Sinners really they give you something fresh, really interesting, unique, very cool and fun, but ultimately there's a few it tries to do a few too many things, and I don't think it pulls it all together. I'm basically saying almost exactly what I said before, but
Yeah.
I don't think they pull it all together perfectly. I think he reached too far. Like if he just there's like some elements in it that if he just chopped a couple of them off and focused it in, this would have been like a just a much better film overall. But I really respect where he was going with some of it. And there's also like I'll have to point out like one one contrivance that I didn't really feel very won over by, which is like actually, I would get into the spoiler territory, so I will go ahead and leave this, even though this movie's been out for a while, so you really probably should have seen it.
Yeah.
But
I
there
think
is
it's
a
fair.
contrivance that is a main point of how it engages into like the finale of this movie, and I'm like, that is
Oh,
it's
I know what you're talking about, and it's
yeah, it's kind of
the
like
thing I like least about the movie as well.
yeah, so that one, but ultimately this movie really tries to do some big stuff, and it does hit on quite a few of them. But because it tries to do a little too much, it doesn't land. I think this would have been closer to higher on my list, a more perfect movie, but it has flaws. It has some clear flaws. But I really I give a lot of accolade to when people try to do a lot, and even if it's flawed, like in this day and age, I'm just going to touch towards like F1. F1 is such a simple story, but it does it well, right? I give a
Yeah.
lot of praise when somebody tries to do something more complex and bigger, even if they don't, even if they don't hit it all the way. And but I did really appreciate Sinners. Again, I reflect on it. I haven't watched it in a while, but it still rings true of being like good. This is why I often think we'll acknowledge recency bias, but I'm like, no, because I think to just the feelings and my opinions on these things, and they don't really shift that much over time. Like I do think about them more afterwards, but like ultimately where I landed on these movies after giving it a bit of thought is pretty much where I remain. So, but yeah, that's my number five.
Do you want to give Angela's number 5 before I do mine?
Number five for Angela is F1.
Okay.
So she's probably a little more aligned with you in the sense of like, oh, good movie, but not like that great.
hmm
But now your number five.
So my number 5, after you just talked about record-breaking most nominations in Oscar history, Sinners, the other frontrunner for winning Best Picture, Sinners, I have one battle after another, which is,
Mm-hmm.
it's a two-leg race between these two movies in a lot of ways. Maybe when we watch, it won't actually play out that way, and maybe neither of these two will win Best Picture. That would be crazy, but the, people are definitely banking on one of these two.
I would really, really like it if Sinners won because I just am like, give Ryan Coogler some credit. This movie really tries to do a lot more. I just feel like one battle after. I mean, I could, go ahead and tell me more about one battle after another. I don't know.
Okay, so one battle after another. Again, so let's characters, acting. This movie's got it.
Yeah,
You want to talk about a movie with multiple acting nominations? You have Leo, you have Tiana Taylor, you have Sean Penn, and you have Benicio del Toro. My opinion is that Benicio del Toro kind of makes the movie whenever he's in it. Um,
I gotta say he's got a great amount of charm, and I will say the absolute best performance is Sean Penn. Like,
he is very likely to win. I gravitate more to what Benicio del Toro is doing because I feel like Sean Penn, he is giving a very strong performance of this character, but like there's a certain level of like I don't know.
I think in some ways, my opinion is that Benicio del Toro is able to like really work the charm, and his like character's like very like interesting and kind of
Yes.
unique in a way. Like he's like a underground railroad karate teacher. It's not karate, but it's like kung fu teacher, and he just got like some cool to him, so it's easier to like him.
I think it was karate because isn't he sensei?
Yeah, I get maybe it is karate, right? But Sean Penn's character is like I like
He just wants to
he's
be a
like
Christmas adventurer.
he does just want to be a Christmas adventure, but I feel like he's given a lot less. like literally lines. And so a lot of what he does is really just by like demeanor. And
Yeah.
I think he does, yeah, like more with that, more with less. I would say, and I will say, I don't know that Benicio del Toro's got a lot more lines than him, but it's just like it's easier to like his character than it is for Sean Penn, and I think he just does more with less.
Yeah, well, yeah. Sean Penn has significantly way more screen time than Benicio del Toro. And a fun fact is that Benicio del Toro, like in working on the movie, kind of developed his character and he becomes a more fleshed out thing because he had ideas and he will like basically like brought
Mm-hmm.
that in.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about the movie more as a whole, and also it's just like it I feel like it's doing a lot and I think it executes it all very well, and that's why I still think it is a great movie. It's my number five of these very good movies. The acting performances are good. It's like a sort of interesting journey. I'm pretty sure it ends on American Girl by Tom Petty, which is basically a cheat code to get me to be like, I had a great time. um uh but there is a certain level of like, what is this movie really saying, that I feel like, I don't know, because genuinely I'm like, I don't really know. But was it well directed? Yes, it was. Did I enjoy that chase scene with the hilly roads? Yes, I did.
Hey, I got to get, yeah, that was good cinematography, good like anticipation. What am I going to see? I like, again, there's good parts of this movie. I also, I can't just, with what you were just saying right there, where you're like, is this like really that big a deal? I don't think so. I just, again, it feels overrated.
I think that this is a really good movie. I'm genuinely confused why it is the, like, I have this above Hamnet. Hamnet makes more sense to be like the front runner Oscar to me than
Yeah,
this. It's kind of like when Sinners, when Hamnet, when other movies that I liked more are there. It's just kind of, there's a bit of a disconnect where I'm like, yeah, it's good. Is this really what y'all think is that great though? Like, it's kind
yeah,
of,
I
it
tend to
thinks it's
agree.
saying a lot, but I don't think it really is saying much of anything.
Yeah, this is
And
where
like,
it's like I don't know, and you're a little more tuned into like maybe what people are saying. I just try to I watch the movies, I enjoy them, I interpret them, and I have my beliefs. And so maybe there's, again, sometimes I think I'm like, maybe there's a more political aspect to it. Like maybe it's, there's something to do with like the directors or the actors. Like it's got Leo in it,
so
so they're just throwing more weight towards it.
I think there's a lot behind the director, because this director has never won Best Director despite like having put out like very well acclaimed movies. It is Paul Thomas Anderson, like movies like Boogie Nights, movies like There Will Be Blood, which you've said before you have not seen There Will Be Blood, I believe.
I have not.
You should watch that movie. You would dig that movie. You would enjoy that movie. Um, uh, and so like he has a bit of a narrative of he's due for it. That
Yeah,
like,
and it's kind of like, yeah, I can see that, I get that, and so I respect that in essence. And if, again, that's, it's more like the political almost aspect. Maybe it's not political, but it's like, yeah, hey, this guy's really been putting in work. And it's just like Leo winning for Revenant, when it's like he's had way better roles, but they were probably just like, give it to the man, like he's earned
yeah.
it, kind of, and he did enough here to get nominated, and at this point we're just trying to, so it's like I can see that, but it's still, that's just kind of the, it's just kind of bullshit nature of the Oscars, in the sense that it's like, you know why is that even
But
factored in?
but
Is
the
it a
thing
good
is
film or
that
not? Like,
but there are people legitimately just think that this is the best picture. That is the real thing, is that people like, I think it's good, I think it's great. Other people are like, yeah, this is just like the best thing he's ever made. This is the best movie of the year, hands down. And there's just the disconnect there. Like, I get it's good, but it's just not that number one to me. Um, uh, but I did get to do the Leo meme early on in the movie when it's shot in Sacramento. I can like, hey, that's the courthouse. That's the bridge.
Yeah.
I I live near there. Oh my god, I've been
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Um, so funny because I think you told me that before. And when I was watching it with Angela, and I remember her saying before the bridge came up, she literally said she was like, "Why does that look like Sacramento?" And it was like I think like a top down view of like buildings that they were showing, and then I was like, I think maybe my brother said it was actually filmed in Sacramento, and then like 10 seconds later, boom, the bridge shows up, and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, there it is. So that was a little bit of like we got the haha moment once we got there as well, but yeah, it's enough said about it, right? I appreciate you adding a little more of the appreciation piece, and again, context wise, between all the other Oscars, I had more time to sit on it and even compare it to some of them, and I'm like, yeah, maybe my opinion of it rose a little. I just can't get off that I think it's overrated. I don't think it's the best movie on this list. I think other here do different pieces better in other ways, but alas, my opinion does not ultimately matter.
Have we both done our fives, or do you still need to do yours?
I have done my five. It was Sinners. So
Okay,
we are
so
on
I
the
can move
fours.
on to onto my four.
Hmm.
All right. Once again, let's pay respects to the other movie I did not get to watch in a theater. That probably would have been the shit to do. A great fucking movie to watch in theaters. It is Frankenstein
My
by
four also.
Guillermo del Toro. Let's fucking get into it.
Let's get into it at the same time. Perfect.
All right, let's talk at the same time too, so it's
Okay.
very easy to understand.
Yeah, I like that. Let's do it.
But no, what is there to be said? You got your Oscar Isaacs, you got your Jacob Elordis, you got your
Hmm.
Mia Goths. It's
Hmm.
just they're Frankenstein in the shit out of this. Uh,
It's I again, it's not like I've seen so many iterations of Frankenstein, but like I've seen a few. Like they throw him in different like things in different ways. But this was just, as far as I know, like such an act, like a true to it retelling. Guillermo del Toro. This was, I mean, like meant for Guillermo del Toro to direct. Like his
he's
visual
he's
style works.
he's kind of made like this is what he's always been destined to do. He kind of did this before in a way with Shape of Water to an extent. That's a
Hmm.
different thing, but he definitely does like that the sympathetic monster character.
Yeah,
And Frankenstein is the sympathetic monster
yeah, he's
or
the
the
archetype.
creature. I believe he is the creature. He's not a monster.
Yes, yeah.
The real monster is Frankenstein.
Exactly, yeah, and yeah, just the performances are fantastic. The Again, Guillermo del Toro on full display. Like I sat down, like I kept hearing like, oh, Frankenstein's really good, really good, and yeah, this was one of those ones where funny, like during, I kind of mentioned earlier that I think Train Dreams we had a couple like interruptions, and this one we also had, like, we actually were pausing it to like have dinner and stuff, but that did not lessen any of it. Like there's no,
Yeah.
like we came right back and are just as engaged. The movie is just, it's it's beautiful. The performances by Elordi and Oscar Isaac in their moments were amazing. Like their monologues, it just works. It just works.
This movie, I it's almost definitely gonna win, or at least it better win for costuming and the hairstyling,
Hmm.
like, and it probably deserves wins for like makeup, or it's makeup and hairstyling and then costuming. I think
Hmm.
it probably could win both of those. I think in terms of production design, the fucking the actual like laboratory setup,
Yes.
like that is this like big thing. It feels so big. Like it's kind of it like I appreciate that Netflix is the reason he was able to make this movie, but it is a shame that it got most of people are gonna watch it on Netflix because it is
Yeah.
a grand undertaking.
Yes. Absolutely. And just again, it's like, really, I don't want, like, Guillermo del Toro's style is on full. He had the perfect um vehicle to just be himself here, and it just works so well. It's it's just great. It's grand. And man, Jacob Elordi, like with that performance, and then I also saw him in Wuthering Heights and knew him from Saltburn as well. And then wasn't he in something else that I think I might have also seen? But point being is like I was like wow, like really like wowed by his performance in this, just like so good, like really just brought so much depth to the creature. Um, and yeah, it's like can't say enough about it. This was a this was an A movie for me. The only thing, and so I didn't get to A plus, right? And I it's hard to put a note on it, but I think there's just a little something missing here. Like there's so for this movie being having a lot of like very tragic emotional moments didn't draw me in as much. And this is where I can't like sit here and say what it could have been done better, but that's just like the comment that I have is that like I didn't ultimately in moments that should have been a little more emotional, maybe should have had more draw, didn't quite capture me, and for that I couldn't get it to being like perfect A plus, but like can't get away from it just being so well done. What do you think about that?
That's really no, that's really kind of sums up why this is still, only at number 4, is
Mm-hmm.
that there is almost a it's almost sterile. It's almost a clinical aspect of it. It's almost too literal of like
Mm-hmm.
this is Frankenstein. Like there's not like it's got his style on it, but the substance of what is Frankenstein is still just Frankenstein, and there's nothing new about it. If anything, like I've never read Frankenstein. I'm not familiar with
Same.
other adaptations. It is like it almost feels like maybe this is more like less nuanced and more on the nose about what it is than
Yeah.
I imagine the actual story would be. But I could be wrong. Maybe this is like very literal in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And so, but again, A movie to me, execution is it's I always say that A movies are where you're in the realm of being flawless, where you achieve everything you're looking for, right? But A pluses are always when you you again perfect. Like not only without flaw, but like you did everything you needed to. You pulled on all the emotional strings you went for. And so this is why A, but not quite A plus. So which I didn't actually give letter rankings to everything else. But I could go back and like run through them
I
subjectively
um
later.
Angela's number 4.
Angela's number 4. Angela's number 4. This is where again she takes a little. Oh, her number 4, Train Dreams.
Okay, yeah.
She felt the same as me. I think she actually even might have cried a little bit at that one. Very really fed into the emotional tones more. So
So we have
um,
the same number 4, but I think it makes more sense for you to key up number 3.
so my number 3 we have talked about it, and this is where I'll get to expand on it. Is Hamnet. Um, I this again like the atmosphere of this movie, the cinematography, a few like key cinematography choices that like add so much impact and like there's a scene, and again I'm not even gonna add to it because I do not want to. I want somebody to be able to go in this, but there's a scene that occurs like right about the middle. It's a very important scene, but it confuses you a little bit because you're like, what exactly are we looking at? And the payoff for that is so amazing at the end of the movie. I cried watching this. I was in a theater by myself. I was like, oh my God. I wish that Angela had watched this because I know she would love it. It's
Yeah,
it
it is on I just saw it on a streaming service. I think it's on Peacock. If you have Peacock, she could watch it.
Yeah, we do. I've been telling her, I said, you have to watch this. You have to watch this. You're gonna love it. There's so much and there's such a whimsical, like magical nature to it without it being like weirdly magical, like without it being like overly fantastical, but it carries this energy through the whole movie. This, this presence, the emotion again, that the performance by the lead actress whose name escapes me.
Jessie Buckley, and again, she is like it going into the awards. There tends to be some things that it's like we're pretty sure that this is gonna win. She is of all the things she feels the most locked in. Like she has won this. It is not like no, like it is already done. Basically, she is the winner of this, and I don't disagree with that. She is
I
like
don't.
kind of carrying. She has this movie in a backpack, and she's just like fucking running up a mountain.
Yeah, and like I don't want to like make less of anybody else's performance, but yeah, it's like there's nobody else like wows you except her. She just is like, oh my god, like she brings so much presence and emotion to this movie. She really is like an absolute beating heart for it, and there's just so much. Like again, this is one of those Oscar movies that I went in there with zero expectation, no understanding, did not even imagine I was going to like it that much, and again by the end was like, holy crap, that was so good. This is like, and it's like it's funny because I almost wanted to like Train Dreams more, right? I almost in my head when I was looking at kind of aligning these, I was like, I almost want to like Frankenstein more. I almost want to like I like want to like these movies more, but there's something missing. Hamnet doesn't miss on what it's trying to achieve. I feel like.
It taps into your emotions. It like it is able to literally like inject a needle and
Yep,
like shoot
exactly.
you up with feels.
Yeah, and that cannot be. And again, narratively, like it just works. Like there's nothing wrong with the narrative. It tells the story it's trying to tell. And what I even like is the whole idea. Like again, if you looked at more of a summary or understood more about it, you get the like, oh, it's about Shakespeare, right? But this movie doesn't come in and be like, oh, this is like a movie about Shakespeare. That's why you want to watch it. It's so. And again, I don't know what the trailers look like. I don't know more about what other summaries said, but you come into this and I'm just watching some story about these people. I'm just on this journey, and the fact that it's about Shakespeare, the fact that you get to the end of it and you're like, oh, okay, so this clear, okay, now I'm really getting it. It is all just besides the point, right? It's all an afterthought. It's not the main point of the story. It's about how it all comes to be. And I don't want to speak even too much more on it because I want somebody to experience it without more than that. Like saying it's about Shakespeare, not really a spoiler. Um, but yeah, this movie, I always reflect. I always like try to intuit like where I feel about these things, and I'm like, this just hit it. This movie, where what I, it's funny because I don't give this movie an A+ because there's while the emotion is like maximum impact, and this narrative is good. There's good cinematography here, but like it's the basically that the thing that you criticize that's there, that's present, and even then like there's little things that take away from it and do not allow me to get to like I would call this one more like an A-, right? Because it really does so much of what it's trying to do really well, but ultimately it still doesn't like it isn't perfect and it's not flawless, but it really
Yeah.
just hits. It really hits. It achieves so well what it's doing, and this is like where the list is kind of subjective. Like I'm not saying like this maybe necessarily it should win if I were to put this in a ranking that it should win Best Picture over Frankenstein. Like no, I'd give it to Frankenstein, but as far as the movies go, just I mean, really fantastic. Highly recommend to anybody that kind of would likes that sort of movie. Maybe not everybody's cup of tea in a sense, but yeah, can't I've said enough, right? But that's why it gets to my top three.
Top three. Before I do my three, want to do Angela's?
Yes, let's get Angela real quick, right? And it is Marty Supreme.
Marty Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Which neither of us have talked about yet. So that
Mm-hmm.
one seems to be averaging pretty high. Um, so the next three movies were all in my top 10 last year,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not gonna be in the same order that as they were on my top 10 because on this list I'm looking a little bit more at I'm looking at my personal preferences, yes, but I'm also looking at like what does this movie mean as a best picture winner? And in that vein, my number three of these three movies, I do recognize that Begonia, which is my number three, probably does not fit best picture quite as
Mm-hmm.
well as the next two, but boy do I love it. I really dig this movie. And it is interesting your opinion about the ending cuz maybe it's because I went into the movie kind of thinking that like I was not really set on what I thought was going on. I went in like I think either could be true about Begonia. And I don't think it's giving too much away to say that this movie is about a like a sort of unhinged conspiracy guy kidnapping a CEO played by Emma Stone. The unhinged conspiracy guy is Jesse Plemons. Um Kidnapping the CEO, believing that she is an alien, and basically just trying to get her to confess that she's an alien and let him like speak to their rulers because he believes that there is this alien conspiracy to keep the human species down. And so I knew that going into it, and knew that like that was going to be a central question. Is he right? Is she an alien? Or is this just obvious? Or is he just like fucking crazy and
Hmm.
he's kidnapped this woman for no reason? But she's still a CEO. So like what if like even if she's not an alien, maybe she does deserve to be questioned in some way, but it's also, inhumane, it's bad. He is doing a bad thing. There I go into it not like he's definitely a conspiracy theorist or she is definitely an alien. I'm like, I'm open to either of these. So I'm curious if you went in like maybe expecting one and don't say because that would maybe, but did you have an expectation of what you thought?
No, I went in pretty. You gave me basically that description before I went in, so I had the okay. Like I knew what the basic plot, and that plot point reveals itself very quickly. So there is no real spoiler there. Like in the very
Yeah.
first moment, you pretty much know exactly what it's going to be about. Truly, I think I would have rated it higher. It just, I think all like one, I love said it once, say it again. I love mysteries. I love not knowing what's going on. I like discovering. I like when there's like clues, and so that part of it really got that part of me going. Um, there's some artistic things in it that are like that went over my head. Like there's some like just scenes that are like clearly like an artistic piece, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's like cool, that's all right. Like they just those didn't really impact me very much. Um, and then and there's a lot that I like up to it, but you know what I say is by the end you get an answer, and there's just a clear point in the movie that I feel like if they just cut it there and they could have left some ambiguity and it would have been so much more powerful to me. It'd have been like leaving me where I'm like, oh, I almost think I do, but like I don't. And when they just take the next step to go further is where it loses me. And I don't want to say too much more because
Yeah.
I just, I don't I don't want to get towards spoiling, but the ending really does not land for me. And again, maybe it's adapted from something else where that's the same ending, but I'm like they had an opportunity to do something different and it but
And
performances
the
are
ending
great.
landed for me. The ending landed for me. Yes, Emma Stone, great. She got nominated. Jesse Plemons, great. He should have been nominated. Um,
He should have, but he
it,
wasn't,
it,
or he did get it.
he did not get a nomination, but it was a
All right.
crowded field. Um, One thing I love the score of this movie, the way that it's just so like loud and like super serious when like kind of mundane things are happening on
Mm-hmm.
screen, but
Mm-hmm.
like but it is conveying the fact that like at least in this guy's head, this is do or die. This is the world at
Yeah.
stake. This is humanity versus this extraterrestrial life. And so like this score will just like come in and it's like when they're just like just kind of like just like standing outside or like
Yeah.
walking into the house.
I like how they also there's like a subplot in it that they weave in and adds more to the again like the mystery. Is this guy just unstable or is he onto something? And it kind of adds to the he's just unstable, right? Like there's a lot that like makes you keep going one way or the other. Like could it be? Could it not be? And I think even for the longest time, it's left in a it's just left truly like so ambiguous and neutral, and it could go either way. And when
Because
I actually respect that.
there's qualities to Emma Stone's performance that are like this does not feel like maybe it's because the CEO is so manicured, but like I don't know if this is a human response to getting kidnapped and like
Yeah, you
it
think so, but it does add some more to where you're like, yeah, but it's like a CEO. She's like different. Like she's
yeah.
really just like
And like
built
yeah,
different kind of thing.
the
Um,
shaved head and like she just kind of has those like expressive eyes, it
Hmm.
makes her look more alien because like you're like she just has a shaved head. That also adds
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I just dig this movie.
Hmm.
And I get that it didn't land for you. But for me it did. But
That's all
it's
right.
only number 3.
I respect that. Again, I respect that the difference in this is, again, I can only really talk more about it offline as far as like the ending without spoiling, and I leave that to anybody else to be able to have a, a whole experience on it and leave their thoughts. So hey, we're doing a great job not spoiling things. I feel like in other ones we just been like pretty spoiler happy. So um
Yeah.
but these movies deserve not, some of these are clearly like don't spoil it kind of movies. So um
Yes.
okay,
So
then
my number
on to
2.
mm-hmm.
So uh deciding a 1 and 2 was difficult because one of these
Agreed.
movies fell a little lower in my top 10 list. But I just recognize the, sort of cultural impact, the swing that was taken. It was a lot more of a bold thing, whereas one of them I think was just a very refined version of what this director had done before, but refined to a level that like I thought it was like batting like at 100. It was just
I
great, and it was my number 2 movie of the year. So I have to pick. It's not a spoiler to say my last 2 movies are Marty Supreme and Sinners. It's just the order at this point.
Yeah,
And you also have Marty Supreme as one of your last 2 movies to
it
pick.
is. I think right now, just based on what you said, that Marty Supreme is in the same spot, but you got to go ahead and confirm that for us.
I am gonna have Marty Supreme at number 2.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I guess I have to say it's mine is not there.
Okay, well, so I do not begrudge that. In like, it's kind of hard for me because I had it so high, and I wonder if part of this is like the narrative of the Oscar season as I like see stuff and like the culture of it, of like Timmy's not been doing a good job on his awards tour. There's a backlash to him as a person,
Yeah, I
which
saw
I
some
think
stuff
should.
about it.
And there's also a backlash on the director about stuff that happened on a past movie that was not super great.
Hmm.
And like there is a I've also heard the criticism that like this is the movie that he did before. This is Uncut Gems, this is Good Time, which I never saw Good Time, but like, and I don't think that's quite fair because like just because it has a similar feel doesn't mean that this movie's not doing very different things than Uncut Gems. Like the soundtrack of it, the anachronistic soundtrack of like 80s music set in the what is it, 60s, I want to say.
Uh, is it
50s or
60s?
60s.
Yeah, yeah. It's got to be close to, but post World War II.
Yeah.
So let me actually do something real quick. I'm gonna go actually very briefly hit my number two. That way we can essentially talk about two and one um,
Okay.
together.
That's fair.
So my number two is F1, which is like, oh my God, Robert, why is it so high on your list? I have a very simple, and I also had a really hard time with my number two, my number one, and I have the perfect way to summarize them. Is that I that my number two, F1, is a simple movie done perfectly. It is an A+ movie that is right here in this little box. And
Hmm.
for you, like you even described it as like, oh, you just kind of like eat it up, digest it, and then it's gone and doesn't sit with you. But quite simply, sometimes when you go to film, when you go to see a movie, and it just gives you a perfect film experience, it just hits every single point perfectly, even when again acknowledging it's not doing. What's our benchmark for A+s? Everything everywhere all at once. But that's huge and hits it perfectly. That's why it's such a titanic, amazing movie. Is because it's so big, it's such a ridiculous concept, and does it perfectly that it just shuts out everything and is always
It
an absolute peak movie.
it
F1
really fucking is.
is not this big, but it's perfect right here. And that's why I'm like, it just keeps coming back to being so high on my list that you go there and everybody enjoys it. They exactly, it is just archetypes, but when you sometimes with so many movies that fail, they miss marks here, they miss marks there. Like just seeing something that is just perfect filmmaking is just like I can't help but appreciate the shit out of it. Now, now basically my number one is your number two, so we can talk about it, like frankly together. And
Can
so
you
go
throw out
go on with.
Angela's? Can you
Oh
throw
yeah,
out Angela's number two real quick, just
yes.
so it's there?
Angela's number two is Frankenstein. Um,
Okay.
and so now Marty Supreme. Why did I battle between Marty Supreme being my number one and F1 being between these two? Right? F1 simple and perfect. Marty Supreme complex, bigger, with some flaws. Marty Supreme is an
Yeah.
A, with a bigger, much more going on. And even
Yeah.
to say,
Like
like
it takes
that's one of
swings.
those
Like he's the
exactly.
Josh Shafty, the director, he is swinging for something. Like he's taken these swings before, but like it is something to like do it again in a different way that is like elevated, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And Timmy might not win the Oscar at this point. I think he still has a chance, but boy, he fucking killed it. This is his best
he,
performance, at
yep,
least since Call Me by Your Name.
yep. Truly, again, like so much about again. I look at this movie and talked to my roommate Frank, and he was like, "Yeah, what was that movie about?" I was like, it's about a guy that plays ping pong, but it's so much more. Like it's so much more. And again, you gave me the perfect. I mean, it's literally like it's Uncut Gems, except it's about ping pong instead of being a jewelry store, you know.
Yeah.
And so like, but yeah, this movie just swings for the fences and does so much right. That's why I had to say like it's again, as much as I can say F1 is an A+ movie, but its scope is so limited, so it's not hard to miss. This is why actually I'll always lean so hard on like a movie that's super simple in concept, and then you don't do it like perfectly. Like what if you're gonna be like this simple? This your movie is only right here. Like you gotta do well. Like you're not swinging for the fences, but when you do so well swinging for the fences, when you hit basically a home run, even if it's not bases loaded, call it like I'm use that metaphor. Like you can't get away from that. And that's why I just had to make Marty Supreme. I had to give it to him. I went back and forth, and I was like, they just go for so much. This A it means more than this A+. Like being at 90% on this is better than 100% right here. And it's just go on. I want you to on your opinion of it. And that's all besides
I
like any of the political stuff like outside of it.
honestly, I feel like it's that kind of covers it. It's ultimately just that. And then this cast of characters, again, another nomination for the casting category. I think this one probably deserves to win best casting, which is this new category, because like even these minor characters, because there's a lot of it's a lot of like sort of vignette sequences
Yep.
one after another, some coming back in like, but like all these characters like make sense in this world and
Mm-hmm.
like feel lived in. They feel like authentic characters. Like who had the fucking idea to cast one of the guys from Shark Tank to be in this movie to give Timmy fucking paddling?
Yeah. Like it's just it's just it's just a lot. The score, the pacing, the tension, the acting, the narrative, how it all is just tight and comes together. Now I will say there's like there's some parts in it. I think maybe we touched no, maybe we didn't talk about this already. Again, this is why it's not an A, is that there's parts that don't like land fully where like I there again I don't remember if I already talked about this in another thing, but there's this line in the movie where like the big wig sort of CEO dude talks to him where he literally says something. He's like, I'm a freaking, like I'm 100-year-old
Um,
vampire.
that
Yeah.
honestly, it's kind of hard to understand what that means. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
I literally am
it's
like,
like
this is some weird stuff. And I'm just gonna say like the like weird random Epstein files crap going around. I'm like, This is like a weird statement in this movie. That was weird that this is in here, and it's just like a totally weird, like off-putting, no context, just said, and then like walked away from. Then I'm like, what the fuck is
Is
going
it?
on here?
And it's like, but that's the thing is like, is that like some weird unhinged confession, or is that just a threat?
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe it just seems like a weird, overblown thing, but it triggers some conspiracy theory like things. But it's just a weird line, and it's like kind of
Yeah,
atonal a little bit. Like it just doesn't fit. Like that line could have been so many other things that would just fit with what was going on better. And yeah, the other thing being too is I want to say that there is this movie actually does set up very well for what the very ending is, which like it's a bit of a spoiler, so I'm not gonna really say it, but the
yeah.
very last scene, I'll say that doesn't land as well as it should have. I think it's actually not quite built up perfectly, but I think it
It's a
does.
there's some controversy about that scene. Some people don't like what they think it to mean, and it is kind of left up to interpretation. Like, what does this mean? What is Marty experiencing right now?
Yeah, and that's I respect that, but yeah, it's ambiguous, but also I'm just like, what exactly does this mean? What is the significance of
Yeah,
this? And so those are like 2 points I can point out that are just like these weird beats that are like, this is why you didn't get to A+. They missed a couple things here, but again,
but ultimately, it wasn't enough for it to not make your number one or my number
mhm,
two.
yeah,
And with that, I guess it's time for me to talk about what I've put at number one, which I think Angela might also have at number one.
or correct is also her number one.
Sinners. It's Sinners. Look, what you were saying about like kind of giving a reward to a movie that's like trying something, that's kind of where Sinners has to be, because like as much as Marty Supreme is trying something bold, Sinners is going way he is
Yeah,
like Marty Supreme is like hitting a home run after you got to practice with a T-ball a couple like with a batting machine twice before.
hmm
Sinners, this doesn't like line up to his past work like in the way that Marty Supreme does,
hmm
but he still hit it out.
yeah,
And it's just it I have it at number one because I think it genuinely deserves to win Best Picture more than any of these other movies. I think it is the best sort of encapsulation of what kind of art should be being made right now. Like this bold, like fully like auteur driven passion project art. Like, is it messy? Are there a couple of like things that could have been like fixed up in the script that would have made like stuff feel like it flowed better? Yes, like I have my issues with how with the person that sort of does this action in the movie that causes the climax to start, like,
yeah,
but it's this bold direction. It's this thing like we haven't seen this movie before. There's nothing like this
hmm
movie that we've seen before. And that can be
yeah,
said for a couple of movies on this list, but like this is I remember seeing the trailer for this the first time. And again, I also need to go back. One of the things that I've had my biggest issues with this movie when talking about this on my list before is that I wish I hadn't been spoiled in the trailers. I wish the later trailers didn't give away so much of what was going to happen, so I could have just had an organic, authentic experience of this movie. That I can never undo that, and maybe I shouldn't be too hung up on that, but it irks me.
hmm
Uh, but Sinners is the first time I saw a trailer for it, I'm like, this looks special. This looks important. And it was like it is the I feel like it is the most significant culturally movie of last year. It maybe didn't have the highest box office. That was like Zootopia 2. But I think nothing had a bigger impact on culture than Sinners, except like maybe like Weapons, but even that was kind of a niche impact.
hmm I still do that run sometimes.
I
Yeah. I again, I don't even really disagree with you. I what I say is like from that same metaphor before. I gave that movie I think like a B plus, right? Because again, some of those pieces just don't hit, and I can like I don't want to get too much into it. I can even point them out. I already did when we talked about it previously. I said
Yes,
this part, and this part are like a little too not fleshed out. But I agree in the sense that I would rather see this. If it was between this and One Battle After Another, I would absolutely wish this would win. Honestly, even I would not, if it wins despite any of these other things, I would not be mad at all. I'd be like, hey, totally
exactly.
fine. Give it to him. No problem with me as far as that goes. I, as far as like other things on this list, I'm like, if certain things on this list were even to be considered like for the win over that, I'd be like, that's ridiculous. Um, and again, I don't think One Battle After Another deserves it, but we'll just that just remains to be seen. But well said. Don't really even have any arguments on it. I I just can't get away from my the criticism. I think I will say I think everybody wants to love this movie and they're all really willing to look past those points, but I think those points are really there. And
I am. There's a part of me that does think that maybe there is an aspect of that is wanting to like the idea of this movie almost trumps the movie itself.
yeah.
But I do I again with One Battle After Another, some people are seeing a movie that I didn't see.
Hmm.
I'm not. And with Sinners again, like I think it's a better movie than One Battle After
Hmm.
Another. One Battle After Another, and like no question. But I'm also willing to be like, there are also people that saw an even better version of Sinners than I saw. Just like I think people saw an even better version of One Battle After Another than I saw from my perspective.
Yeah. So, but alas, that is our rankings for the Oscars. Now, Ryan, I know you have our finish with some of the other nominees and your opinions on those. You did send me the list, but
For the
frankly, we'll
actors
just
and
go by you.
actresses.
Yeah.
So let's just run through Best Actress in a Supporting Role. We have Elle Fanning from Sentimental Value, Inga Ibsdottir Lilius from Sentimental Value, Amy Madigan from Weapons, Wunmi Mosaku from Sinners, and Tiana Taylor from One Battle After Another. You have seen all these movies, though you didn't finish Sentimental Value. Who would be
Mhm.
your pick of these five?
Um, it's kind of tough.
I
Candy.
I personally I, I'm kind of partial to Tiana Taylor in One Battle After Another because I
Yeah,
think
she was
she
pretty powerful.
she has a big impact on this like very early chunk of the movie, but
Yeah,
she's felt throughout the rest of it.
that is
Like
kind of where I'm feeling.
I'd be most happy with either her or Amy Madigan as Aunt Gladys because that's a more culturally impactful. That's the most culturally impactful performance, and she's like in like 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I think I actually have to agree. As much as I don't really care for One Battle After Another, as far as the supporting actress goes on this list, like sorry, I didn't her name, the One Battle After Another chick.
Tiana Taylor,
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
who famously was also in the Tyler Perry movie, Big Happy Family, where she famously yelled at Lil Bow Wow, Byron. I I just need to bring that up because she's the best part of that movie. She's so funny. Best actor in a supporting role. We have Benicio del Toro, One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi, Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo, Sinners, Sean Penn, One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. I've
Yo,
already
that's
said before, I'm partial to Benicio del Toro here, but I
honestly
wouldn't
that's
be mad at
tough.
Sean Penn winning.
I think Sean Penn, or I mean, I really want to give it to Jacob Elordi. I like. I mean, I feel like that creature performance is pretty stellar. Funny that in the movie,
I
I get. I mean, it's funny when like people end up as supporting actors when they're like. I mean, to say he's not like he's only in the movie for speaking roles for a
we
smaller
have a movie
portion, but
like Hamnet. Hamnet's not the main character.
Hamden is not the main character. So,
Yeah, and
but
Frankenstein also isn't referring to him.
it is not. It is not.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean that's my Sean Penn or Jake Valordi.
fair. Actress in a leading role, we have Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, Rose Byrne in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson in Song Sung Blue, Renate Rensby for Sentimental Value, and Emma Stone in Begonia. You have not seen two of these, I'm guessing.
No.
Rose Byrne is very good in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, though I did not care for that movie. Kate Hudson is she's been seen as like kind of controversial in this, getting this, but I watched that movie. I actually think she is really good in it, and I'm happy she got the nom, even though it left out other maybe deserving nominations. But Jessie Buckley's gonna win this, and she should.
Good. That's it. That's pretty much all that needs to be said there.
And best actor in a leading role, we have Timothée Chalamet from Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio in One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan Sinners, in Wagner Moura in The Secret Agent. A lot of like the sort of like predictions are putting it between Timothy and Michael B. Jordan at this point.
That's where I would be.
Um, and I think those are fair.
Hmm.
I'm have to assume you did not see Blue Moon.
Nope.
So I did watch the movie just so I could like know what Ethan Hawke's performance is. I need to be a little real. As much as I want Timothy Chalamet to win, and as much as Michael B. Jordan would also deservedly be a good winner, Ethan Hawke also like he's really good in that movie. It's like and like the whole movie is like him like talking at people. Like he is like in if he's not in every scene of that movie, like he is in the like nearly every like scene of that movie. And he's like always on and yeah, I just like Ethan Hawke. So
Hmm.
any of those three winning, I'd be fine with. I plainly don't think Leo should win for this.
Yeah, no. I just absolutely not.
All right. So, and best director, Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Josh Safdie, Marty Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson, One Battle After Another. Uh, I, I, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Joaquin, Trier for Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners.
Chloe
It
Zhao.
seems to be between. It seems to be what for Hamnet.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, the only one of these to already have won Best Director for Nomadland.
Who's it
Um,
between though?
it's between Paul Thomas Anderson and Ryan Coogler. It seems to be more likely for PTA because of the overdue aspect of it. But you know, Ryan Coogler also has like he has built a thing where I feel like he is also due in that sense. So I could see it going to either of them, and I'd be happy with either of them. My vote would be for Ryan Coogler, though.
I'd rather give it to Ryan Coogler. I'm just not overly impressed with One Battle After Another. I would say if it's gonna like come out like it's not that it should be done like this, but if they're gonna give like it, if they were gonna give Sinners the best picture, they should give Thomas Anderson the director or vice versa. Kind of like if they have to be a little
Some
political
people
about it.
Some people are predicting that's going to happen, that we're going to have a split where they give it to Anderson for director, but then Sinners wins Best Picture, or maybe vice versa. But again, it's all a vote system. So, like, no
Yeah.
one's making that decision. Like, it's just members of the Academy voting one way, and they're not necessarily all on the same page to, like, let's do this thing. So, that's why you can get surprise wins on the day of. I do want to hit up you have not seen all or most of these, but I do always like to touch on the
Hmm.
animated feature films. We have Arco, Elio, K-pop Demon Hunters, Little Amelie, or The Character of Rain, and Zootopia 2. Which of any of those have you seen?
None of them.
You didn't see Zootopia 2 or K-pop Demon Hunters?
You and I watched the only 20 minutes of that movie that I've seen, Zootopia 2.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
um I I enjoyed every one of these movies. My pick would be the one that I had in my top 10, which was K-pop Demon Hunters.
Hmm.
It just It slaps. And Golden slaps. Golden should win best song. The only other song thing that could win it is the Sinners song. I'm forgetting the name of it right now.
Hmm.
But Golden should win best song. K-pop should win best animated feature. And then international feature film, we have It Was Just an Accident, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Surat, and The Voice of Hind Rajab. So we talked about Sentimental Value and The Secret Agent. Those are my least favorite of the movies in this category. I want to quickly shout out a movie called No Other Choice that was up for this category, and some people thought should have been in the Best Picture race, but was shut out. I think it's maybe better than all five of these movies personally. But for what is actually nominated, I would not be upset with any of the other three winning. It was just an accident. Surat and The Voice of Hind Rajab. I actually watched Surat yesterday. That movie is wild. That movie is crazy. It's the kind of thing that it's the kind of movie that could not be made in America and like see a wide receptive audience to it. It like it's literally I almost want to just talk about that movie for a long time. But the way that like an hour into the movie, something happens that's just so wildly unexpected that it flips the entire movie on its head. And then it does that again like 20 minutes later with another crazy wild thing that you would never have expected to happen thing. But and The Voice of Henry Job, I also want to talk about that movie because it uses real life voice, the real life voice of a little girl who is stuck in a car in the middle of like a war zone in Gaza, in a car filled with her dead family members that all died from like getting shot at, and she's just sitting there, and you're hearing the actual voice of the call that she made to emergency response people trying to get to her, and that movie made me sob. But looking at this category, sentimental value is most likely to win.
Very well.
My personal vote would be for the movie I didn't talk about. It was just an accident. Um, but I think there is merit in all five of them, though more so in the three that I like more that were not nominated for Best Picture.
Hmm.
But yeah, so we're recording this the morning of the Oscars. Hopefully, I'm getting this out today, before the Oscars happen. But even then, uh, if you're watching this or listening to this after the Oscars, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening this far through. We recognize that not many people necessarily do, but I appreciate this as a chance to talk to my brother, and maybe someone's getting something out of this.
Yes, thank you to our loyal listener, whoever
Yeah.
you may be. If there's more than
some
one of
some
you, that would
sometimes there's
that would
two
surprise me a little bit.
listens, sometimes there's zero listens, and that's fine, you know.
That's
We're
okay.
just yeah,
We're here for each other. It's R&R showtime.
exactly.
Ours. Ha ha
It's based on
ha.
our names.
Um, but otherwise, I mean, I think that does pretty much wrap it up. Any final send offs there, Brother Reno? This was let me just say real quick. This was again an interesting Oscars year. Like I DNF'd one of the films. I distinctly like first year where I truly like was like actually wish potentially I hadn't even watched some of them. Um, and so, like, coming off of a year that was already like even just broad scope, like challenging, but really coming with some real knock out of the park. Like even
There's
despite
something to be said that there are movies that you did not watch that you only watched because of this that ranked
Mhm.
very highly for you.
Yep, exactly. Again, Hamnet. This happens every year with us doing the Oscar films, where there is a film that I just find to be exceptional and I went out of my way for. Hamnet was that. But yeah, but a year of a lot of like just lower picks for me. Like I think in most prior years I found more appreciation like average overall. This is where I had
Yeah.
like some real lows and some real highs.
I
And
kind of agree. Like, yeah, my lowest movie, The Secret Agent, I don't think it's a bad movie, but I did not care for it. And kind of like
mhm,
you, I wouldn't mind having not watched it.
yeah. Um, but alas, still always a worthwhile experience to having gone and watched them. And I guess you could say if I had to watch Secret Agent to have watched Hamnet, probably evens itself out. So, and Marty Supreme, I may not have gone out of my way to actually see that if it wasn't for sure a Best Picture. And I had it highly recommended, right? So you highly recommended it,
Yeah.
and then found out it was also an Oscar nominee. So, but but yeah, that's this year. That's the Oscar, the 98th Oscars.
Yeah, we're
So
close to 100.
close to 100. Wow, that'll probably be really exciting, even if the viewership continues to go down and people care even less by the time it's the
I
100th.
think I think next year it's going to be available to watch on YouTube. So like that should be honestly that should make it pretty high viewership. I believe it should be on Hulu. I hope it's on Hulu, otherwise I'm not going to be able to watch it live.
Yeah, so we will see.
Think about
But
that, ABC.
yeah, yeah. Do you listen? All of our viewers will
Disney.
riot.
Disney.
Anything last to sign off with, brother?
I think that's it.
Alrighty. Well, well then, that's the case. I've been
Alrighty
Robert,
then. I'm Ryan.
and that's all, folks. See you next time.
Yeet.